Hi all, thanks for joining me today here at Trevor Gallagher Drums. Today I thought I'll do a little video on why I tune the way I do and why I dislike a lot of modern drum tuning techniques. A little bit of background on me. I started playing drums in 1963, joined my first band in 1968 and have been playing basically since then. And my original drum teacher, he was a big band jazz player, so he was the first person to teach me how to tune drums. And you know, him coming from a big band jazz background, a lot of the way he tuned was very big and open and quite high tuning, typical of big band and jazz sort of tunings. I don't tune as high. I don't do like bebop or type tunings or anything like that. These days I tend to tune my drums around, well, all my toms and kick drum, I tune it to where the sweet spot is in the drum itself. And snare drums, depending on what style of music I'm playing, normally about a medium sort of tuning on them. So anyway, getting to, let's start a little bit with a drum. A drum is an acoustic instrument. It has generally speaking, a wooden shell. There are exceptions, but wooden shells, just like acoustic guitars, are made to vibrate, and the tone of that drum actually comes from its vibration, from the shell's vibration as well as the heads. And if the heads are tuned right, it actually allows the shell to fully resonate. And when you have your heads working together to bring out the vibration of the shell, you get the sweetest, fullest tone out of that drum. And the important thing to keep in mind when we're talking about drums and how to tune, and again, this is my opinion on how I tune. I'm probably going to, upset a few people with what I'm about to say, and that is a drum itself, regardless of which drum, is an acoustic vibrating wooden instrument. And to get the real rich tone out, or the full tone out of the drum, requires it to fully resonate unhindered. So what I mean by that is no dampening on that drum. If you had a really expensive acoustic guitar, let's say a Martin D28 or something like that, worth a fortune, and then you totally put gaff tape all over the soundboard, the top part of the guitar, filled all the inside with cotton wool or something like that, and you tried to play it, it'd sound really dead and horrible. And you wouldn't do that, because the beautiful tone of that beautiful Martin D28 would be lost. It'd be all dampened down. It wouldn't resonate. It wouldn't have any sustain. It'd just sound really, really dead. That's the same thing for your drum kits. When you use dampening, let's say for a kick drum for a start, when you take it's a very common thing for people, take the front head off and fill the bass drum with blankets and pillows and things like that. Then they may put the front head back on, and most often cut a hole in it so they can stick a mic into it. By putting those pillows and blankets and things inside your bass drum, you are basically killing the sound of that bass drum. You're basically turning a beautiful resonating drum, something that's got really nice sustain and sound, and you're deadening it down to the point where you might as well be using a cardboard box. It turns into a thud, thud, thud instead of boom, boom. So one of the reasons why I don't use dampening on any of my drums, except if you look at this bass drum behind me, you may be able to see it. You'll see a little line down through here. That's a little felt strip. I have one on the front head, and I have also one on the back. All my tom-toms, I don't have any dampening at all on my drums. And the reason for that is because I want my drum, it costs me a lot of money. I want to hear the sound of that drum. I don't want to dampen that tone down. I don't want to tame it in any way. I want that drum shell to fully resonate and ring out, because that's what I paid for. So if I start dampening it down and covering my tom heads with gaff tape and filling them full of moon gels and things like that, again I'm just getting a thud. I'm not getting any sustain and any tone out of that drum really, or I'm compromising the tone of that drum. So whether it's my old school sort of training, I don't know, but for me, I like to hear the full sound of my drum kit, so I don't use any dampening. Now if you tune your drum in a correct way, you won't get this big sort of over ring in a sense. You'll get this really rich, beautiful tone. And the way to get that is to have the top head and the bottom head working together. If you've got the top head screwed up really high and the bottom head really low, then they're fighting each other. You basically want them to be, generally speaking, there's lots of exceptions to the rules, but generally speaking, the top and bottom head should roughly be about the same tension. So if I tap on the bottom and then tap on the top, they're roughly about the same pitch. Or if anything at all, maybe the bottom head just a little bit lower than the top, but not a great difference, because when they're close together, they work together and they actually help to vibrate that shell, so you get more of the shell sound out of your drum as opposed to a head. So if you tune your drums like that, you will get to hear the rich, beautiful tone of the wooden shell that your drum's made of. So have a think about that. If you're a drummer that fills their bass drum full of pillars and gaff tapes the hell out of their heads, rip it all off and have a try at retuning things. When you first start doing it, it's going to sound big, boomy and ringy, but trust me, 2 feet or a couple of meters off the stage, you don't hear that ring at all. What you hear is pure tone, and you'll get used to hearing that ringy sound. I'll just tap these drums behind me. They're not in tune. I didn't bother tuning them, and they haven't been tuned for a couple of weeks, so they're probably out of tune, but I'll give you a bit of an idea. And once again too, I'm only using my iPhone here, so the sound quality is probably not going to be as good as it could be, but I'll just give a bit of a tap and you will hear all of this ring. Anyway, like I said, they're out of tune.